Welcome back to World War Live, everybody. I'm your host, Conrad Franz, here on Wednesday evening. I know it's not Tuesday, so sorry to keep everybody waiting 24 hours. I was just too tired yesterday. Sorry, there's not really a great excuse. We recorded a massive episode of Ether Hour starting at about 2:30 p.m. my time. That went on for well over 2 hours, so that should be being released tomorrow. It is with Eschaton Vigil, Dimitri, myself, and Jonathan from Eschaton Vigil. Be sure to check out this big episode coming up. We talk about all sorts of things, really true Ether Hour episode, really focused on the prophecies, World War Now type stuff, St. John Vitatsis, sort of the general milieu of what we talk about here. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We've already got multiple super chats, so thank you so much to the loyal super chats. If you want to support the show here, be sure to send me a super chat. I will answer whatever you ask attached to said super chat here live on the air. But if you want to support us otherwise, be sure to subscribe at worldwarnow.co. The link is down in the description below if you're listening on YouTube. Of course, if you're watching on X, check out the World War Now Twitter profile, and the link there is to the Substack, where you can get behind the paywall and get access to hundreds and hundreds of hours of Ether Hour exclusive content. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, apologies for the delay, but again, it's not been as momentous of a news week as opposed to previous weeks, with, of course, the whole Israel-Iran war and the fulfillment of many prophecies that we have been keeping track of here on the show. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. But before we really dive into anything else, because again, it's not going to be the deepest, most revamped, exciting show ever, because there's not a huge amount of breaking news happening right now. But on the World War Now front, there definitely is breaking news, and I'm going to need to share screen here for 1 second. Okay. I wish it would show the thumbnail right here, but everybody needs to watch the Death of Empire documentary. If you have not already gotten behind the World War Now Ether Hour paywall, you need to do so. I'm going to get here and pause. It doesn't matter if I pause it. I wish it would just show the entire thumbnail, but if you go back to here, you see, of course, right here, second post on the World War Now Substack is the Death of Empire, the full documentary. This is a full 18-part documentary that we've compiled into one 4.5-hour video that is, of course, available behind the paywall. It's 45 plus minutes are available for free, but if you want to watch the full thing, at least for now, please support the show, get behind the paywall, watch this entire amazing documentary from Metropolitan Tikon Shevkanov. I can even scroll through it a little bit here for everybody, for people to see kind of what we're talking about. You know, this is the kind of, presentation style we're talking. It's Metropolitan Tikon, His Eminence, in this museum kind of Alex Jones style setup, discussing the fall of the Russian Empire, the Bolshevik Revolution. So this is really worth everybody's time. It's already gotten a lot of likes, one of our most liked posts. We want to keep liking it. We want to get it well over. If we could get it over 100 likes on Substack, that would be amazing. So we got 64 there right now. Let's keep that advancing. This is some really valuable content. This is stuff that I think everybody in the audience could benefit from. Christians, Orthodox, conservatives of any kind. It's really, really good stuff. It gets into so many details about Tsar Nicholas II, what was really going on during the empire, and what really preceded the revolution, and who really supported the revolution, and what was really going on in Russian society. You have to be sure to watch our accompanying episode, sort of the director's cut, as it were, of at least the subtitled version, with myself, Dimitri, and Charles Bausman, who really facilitated the creation of this documentary, sort of got us the rights, as it were, to translate it. We want to, of course, thank Vsefalad Loiko, who, I don't know if he's watching this right now, but he's a member of the World War Now community, who's the one that really made the subtitles for this and was able to actually translate this and bring it to the English-speaking audience, of which we are sort of the platform that is being provided through. So thank you to him, thank you to Charles, thank you to Metropolitan Tikon, and everybody should really, again, get behind the paywall and watch this episode. There it is. Great view of it here. If you go to the other episode, you can see this great, beautiful thumbnail. First time available in English, some of the most valuable information that you don't really find in English either. Most of this revisionism, this true history of the Russian Revolution and the late Russian Empire, are relegated to the Russosphere, and perhaps even in other languages that have not yet broached the Anglosphere, who ultimately were responsible for supporting world Jewry in its destruction of the last Christian empire. So again, check it out, worldwarnow.co. It's all linked down below right here. Death of Empire, full documentary, English subtitles. I've already seen we've got one more like since the stream has started. So go and like the stream and like this episode, this documentary. Thank you so much. Like this stream again. If you're listening to this, like the stream, share the stream. Make sure it gets sent to all the people in your life who might be interested in tuning in live to something like this. But I've got to get to some super chats or I'm going to miss them. We've got $10 from Paisios. Been waiting since yesterday to do this, my friend. Glory to the World War Now audience. Glory to Jesus Christ and glory to his holy saints, especially St. John of Shanghai. We just celebrated today. Thank you, Paisios, for the $10. Your support is much appreciated. St. John Maximovich, pray for us. Paisios, real World War Now patriot. Can't thank him enough. A lot of real patriots in chat tonight. Jonathan Kelly, $5. Thank God I can finally super chat, holding that in all day. Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, everyone should imitate Jonathan. Jonathan, he's got a rare condition. He has to super chat, at least a few times a week. And if he doesn't, it starts to, he starts to get tense. Certain symptoms start to arise. So thank you, Jonathan. More people, should imitate him, get infected with such an amazing disease. But thank you, Jonathan. It's greatly appreciated. Always great to see you in the chat. Jonathan Kelly, $27, full Unk energy. And then on the next super chat is $2 from Zach saying, happy birthday, Conrad. So thank you, Zach. But it's true. The Unk era has arrived. I'm now 27 years old. That's right. I was born in the year of 1998. So at this point, I'm just an old man. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm an old geezer. My social security check's going to be coming in soon. I was thinking I should just take myself out to pasture, just go out in the field, sit down, and just wait for nature to do its thing because, I don't want to go out in no hospital bed or nothing like nothing like that. I'm kidding, of course. Some people keep telling me my best years are ahead of me. I'm not sure if that's true, but, they say 30's the new 20 or something like that. So I guess I'm still 17. If that's coping, I don't know, but the Norwood Reaper has yet to come for me. We're still good. The hairline has yet to mature, but the content and the knowledge base very much has. They say I'm hopefully I'm wise beyond my years, if not looking beyond my years. But thank you for the birthday wishes, everybody. Greatly appreciated. A lot of love on the socials when I made it clear that it was over, but thank you again, Jonathan, Zach, everybody wishing the birthday wishes. $5 more from Paisios. I have the super chat, my virus. It's a wonderful disease to have. So true, Paisios. So true. Tara T, here's a super chat before I head out on vacation. Thank you, Tara, beloved member of the World War Now community. Always active in the Discord. Be sure to join the Discord as well. If you're here in the chat, if you enjoy chopping it up in the live chat, interacting with everybody, having the super chats, be sure to check out, it's in the link down below. If you're here on YouTube, check out the World War Now Discord server. I'm in there all the time, yapping, talking away with people. We got all sorts of interesting characters in there. So hop in there. We have chats about cosmology, all sorts of Orthodox chats, history chats, specific chats about each different sector of the Third World War, Russia, Ukraine, the Middle East, Asia, all sorts of incredible chats. So check out the Discord. It's linked down below. It's a great, fun community to be in. But again, if you haven't already watched the Death of Empire documentary, be sure to do that. We are very much entering the world of publishing and being our own sort of, I don't want to say production house just yet, but we're getting there. So every super chat, every subscription to the paywall, all the support that we're getting really helps us push towards that direction where we can more independently produce, translate things. So yeah, thank you all again so much for the support. But one of the big stories that I wanted to talk about, and I think I pulled it up in a different window, so I'm not seeing it right now. So forgive me. I'm going to have to pull that up really quick. But the situation in Armenia and the Caucasus is very much escalating. I may even just have to pull up a Telegram window. That might just be a quicker diddly-do here. But obviously, last live I reported on Hoggate, of course, from Armenia, as I'm now calling it, as has now been announced on air, where of course, it was the beginning of, not the beginning, but really the culmination of Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's war against the Armenian Apostolic Church, church figures accused him of being a Jew or a Muslim and being sort of sold out to foreign entities and not being a true Armenian, accusing him of being circumcised, having traded his baptism for the circumcision. Pashinyan then responded that he would show his penis to the Catholicos of the Armenian church. So in many ways, Pashinyan has really continued his legacy. He's never been a friend of the church in Armenia. He's always been a sort of anti-nationalist, internationalist figure. So he's never been pro-church. He's obviously never been pro-Russia. And he's been willing to give away places like Karabakh to Azerbaijan. And this has sort of been precipitated as well by, or accompanied by, a sort of collapsing, as it were, of Russo-Azeri relations. So trying to find the latest Telegram posts here. But of course, Azerbaijan has arrested the... Yes, here we go. This is what I was looking for. All right. There we go. This is from July 1. Caucus War Report. We won't comment too much until the official details are released, but Armenia, Turkey, and Azerbaijan have reached an agreement on the Zangezur corridor during Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's recent visit to Turkey. Under this deal, Russia will have zero control over the corridor, effectively being cut out entirely. In response, Moscow attempted a failed coup against Pashinyan through clerical channels last week to disrupt the ongoing negotiations. Now it's trying to pressure Azerbaijan, but those efforts are also falling flat. In essence, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan are forming a new regional axis that openly challenges Russian influence, which, of course, if you've been following World War now, we've effectively been predicting this for years, ever since Russia allowed Azerbaijan to effectively win the 2022 Karabakh, the culmination of the war that started in 2020, the Karabakh War, that saw Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, ethnically cleansed of Armenians, fully brought into the fold of Azerbaijan, of the Turkish national project across this region. And Russia, who seemed, I don't know if they were fooled once again by their stupid love for the Israelis or their silly idea of Islamic collaboration or some kind of a hope to collaborate closer and further with Turkey, but Russia threw Armenia under the bus, which further pushed. I mean, the argument is possibly also that Russia saw Armenia shifting towards the West, saw what the Pashinyan regime was doing, and then, of course, decided to betray them. But now we're seeing too little too late with this attempted coup of these church figures. Many bishops, archbishops, have been arrested or being investigated for anti-national, effectively, for attempting to facilitate and start a coup, which, again, it would make sense why the more nationalist Armenians, the church figures, would be the ones that are working with the Russians. Obviously, the Russians have utilized Armenian disdain for Turks in the region for the times they've been in conflict with the Turks. But right now, of course, with Russia, playing it really safe, doing their realpolitik, they obviously have caved more to Azeri and Turkish lobbying and demands than the perhaps more feeble and weak and less influential Armenian lobby. But I mean, we've talked about God, whatever his name is, Umayev or whatever, the Azeri Jewish billionaire in Russia who owned the Crocus City Hall, and how he could be behind a lot of the esoteric realities behind that weird event. Of course, we've also talked about Ilham Aliyev himself, who being also likely of mountain Jewish descent. So the Russian, Turkish, Armenian, Azerbaijan relations, we've always talked about this on the show, how it could be a critical juncture and axis that could facilitate and start the beginning of Russo-Turkish conflict, which, again, we've been looking towards for a long time. Obviously, if Russia allows what the West and what other powers want to be done to Iran to occur, that will be a massive Turkish victory in this sort of brewing conflict that's yet to fully go kinetic between Russia and Turkey. And if Armenia allows this Zangezur corridor to happen and get some sort of protections from NATO that Turkey is okay with to basically completely dominate the region and keep some sort of corrupt puppet regime like that of Pashinyan in power, then that's spelling really bad news for the Russians. And like I said, with this coup that seems to have failed, I don't know. Thankfully, Pashinyan is not popular, so I don't think that this will be the end of the legitimacy struggles for his regime. I just don't know exactly. I mean, besides the Russians, I don't know who else is going to support some kind of coup to overthrow Pashinyan. I mean, the Russians might have to come at it from a different way. maybe the Iranians, because obviously Iran and Azerbaijan have been trading diplomatic blows. Iran, we talk about this in the latest World War Now episode, has been accusing Israel of accusing Azerbaijan of allowing Israel to use its airspace for Israeli drones to fly through and to strike them. So that's brewing there. So obviously, Iran and Armenia have very close ties. Their military still trained together. But there are many Armenians in Iran, just like there are many Azeris in Iran. So these are two of the ethnic groups that Iran has to deal with the most, because Iran is not 100% Persian. They have many people in their empire, their small little fief. We got Alan Wong, $20. Great to see you in the chat, Alan. World War Now virus jab research. Yes, no vaccines are available yet, and I'm hoping that Pfizer doesn't get on that anytime soon, because we need more people to get infected with this virus so I can keep getting money. But thank you so much, guys. It's greatly appreciated here. But the situation in Armenia, it's escalating because Pashinyan is unpopular, and even though in the international community he's very beloved, he's not liked by his own people, and he's very much hated by Belarus, Lukashenko, Putin. We remember when Pashinyan effectively blew up the CSTO, so effectively leaving it, rendering it effectively useless at the time it was happening at the meeting that they were at. And this pushed Belarus and others further into the Azeri camp. Unfortunately, I've criticized, Lukashenko for having such a soft spot for Azerbaijan, but perhaps this latest collapse in relations. I mean, the Russians have really wanted good relations with the Azeris, but between the Azerbaijani plane that they shot down over Kazakhstan, between the latest flare-up regarding the Armenians, between Russian support for Iran and the latest Iranian accusations against Armenia, Russia recently arrested a bunch of Azerbaijanis supposedly for selling drugs, human trafficking, all these sorts of things. And then the Azeris immediately responded by arresting a bunch of supposed Russian nationals for similar crimes, as well as arresting the editor and the heads of Sputnik Azerbaijan in Baku. So things are very much heating up in the former Soviet Union countries that make up the Caucasus. So that's the scoop there. The other big news that everyone's talking about, obviously, is Trump's big, beautiful bill. I haven't even been keeping up with this as strongly because it's just nowhere near as interesting as what's been going on in world affairs. But the latest is that the Senate has voted in favor of the bill. J.D. Vance I'm sorry, I'm trying to switch screens here, but I've got to get back to the Chrome window. There we go. J.D. Vance cast the final vote in the Senate, as he can as the vice president. And it's now sent back to the House in its amended senatorial form. And I'll just read the Axios article here. GOP revolt says House vote on Trump's beautiful bill. Yeah, of course, we're getting Thomas Massie and several other characters coming out against this. What should have been a 5-minute procedural vote on President Trump's big, beautiful bill is stretched for more than 90 minutes with no clear end in sight due to firm opposition from some corners of the GOP. House Republican leaders are working furiously to pass the sweeping reconciliation bill before their stated July 4th deadline, but persistent delays threaten to put that goal out of reach. A group of GOP deficit hawks have been meeting off the House floor since returning from their meeting at the White House. An hour into the vote, Republicans who were told to head back to their offices and sit tight while more meetings occur, for a source familiar with the matter. Lawmakers in both parties were told they will have at least an hour before they are needed back on the floor. Aides and members told them. I'm wondering if this has changed in the past few hours, but of course, what are the latest updates here? It seems that the bill is likely to pass. But Thomas Massie, obviously, many are coming out against it. And look, I'm not like super gung-ho about the bill. I really don't care. I'm not really super attached to the political success of the Trump regime anymore. But at the end of the day, as someone who's critical of the Trump regime, what we want out of Trump is no more foreign wars and border security and mass deportations. Those are the things we want. Fiscal responsibility should be kind of low on the list here, because that doesn't matter who's in office, that's never happening. So being a sort of deficit hawk right now to the detriment of border security and funding ICE is a little bit silly. And that's not to say this bill probably has a bunch of terrible pork in it, but this is the only way the legislative branch even works. So this is what you got to get that stuff through, and then you can fight a lot of the stuff in it, perhaps in a Doge-like thing. And I'm not confident in any of that, but ultimately at this point, I would rather see the wall built and more deportations actually happen, and then a bunch of stuff that, again, the country's already going to collapse in a few years anyway. So just stuff that would just expedite that in some capacity, whatever. But we got to get as many of these people out of here as possible, so that whatever can rise from the ashes after the United States burns to the ground can be a little bit less, can look a little bit less like the rest of the world and look a little bit more like what the United States used to look like. We got $15 from John D. Rock. Happy birthday, Conrad. Go buy some Cabo Bobs before you're put in hospice care. Be sure to wear your Depends if you get the beans. Well, he knows I like Cabo Bobs. Big Cabo Bobs enjoyer. If you're here in Austin, Texas, you should also be a Cabo Bobs enjoyer. Delicious burritos. Yes, I will be retiring to the retirement. The World War II bunker has a retirement home where, I will be cared for by a horde of gnomes that will, replace my bedpan and sponge bath me and other such do other such activities that I will need them to do. But thank you, John. Greatly appreciate it. I'll be sure to get some Cabo Bobs on you. Paisios, $5. Can you talk about how John X has shown his support for the canonical Orthodox Church in Ukraine and Antioch, now with Russia? Is Antioch now with Russia? Can you explain this? Well, Antioch's always been with Russia on this. The Antiochians have always been some of the strongest supporters of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They've never had anything to do with the schismatics. Not only that, but Antioch, even like the Antiochian Church, is the only church that not only did they not go to Crete and attend the fake ecumenical council of Crete in 2016, but they didn't even sign any of the preliminary agreements. They had nothing to do with Crete, because at the time they were taking their schism with the Jerusalem Patriarchate, which has now since been not resolved, but ended. It's no longer existing, even though the issue itself hasn't been resolved. But with everything going on in the Middle East and Gaza, they realized that the dispute over one archimandrite in the jurisdiction of Qatar, where it has like 1 or 2 or 3 Orthodox churches, doesn't actually really matter. So that's what was going on there. So Antioch has never signed on to anything that endorses the neo-papist ecclesiology of the ecumenical patriarchate, which is, of course, what the Council of Crete ultimately led to in a lot of ways. So Metropolitan Tikon, the Antiochians have always, they've always been in support of one another. And of course, obviously, Patriarch John probably wants more Russian influence in Syria after what we just saw after the new martyrs of Damascus, the 22 new martyrs we recently saw. That's the kind of thing that happens now in the new Syria, in the post-Assad Syria. So if more Russian influence meant less of that, then I wouldn't be surprised. It's not surprising that the Patriarch would support that, on top of course, supporting the correct ecclesiology in not supporting the schismatic poo-poo heads. We got another $2 from Zach. Way too big and not that beautiful. I agree. It's not great, but unfortunately, this is how the legislative branch works. And look, we got to try to do what we can. We've all already recognized the Trump regime. We've already bombed the Middle East. We've supported the Israelis and gone to war. All this stuff, it's already pretty much over. We got to hope for what we can here. But yeah, John X at the funeral for the new martyrs, he gave a pretty scathing rebuke of the new Syrian regime and talked about that. So he's a brave man. It's a good patriarch. I have some critiques, and again, people really don't like this. When there's stuff like this going on and people critique ecumenism, people are like, how dare you? People are dead. How dare you bring this up? But we can't be doing ecumenism. We can't be doing this Christian solidarity against Muslims in the Middle East. And not that we don't have solidarity, but we can't be doing that to the point of effectively having intercommunion and concelebrating and these sorts of things, which ironically, I think if these things stop, there might even be, success in a lot of these arenas that could alleviate persecutions. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying what we all know to be true here. Obviously, I'm not accusing any specific person of having done anything wrong, but John X, 95% of the time, amazing hierarch, big fan, proud to have his portrait in my parish as a member, not just an Antiochian, but my parish also a Saint Elias, much like the parish that was bombed in Damascus. So very really, really, really tragic to see, especially how many young people were injured and killed. It's just not something that's really amazing to think about all the time. But I mentioned our Ether Hour episode we're going to have coming up. Be sure to check this out. If you just can't wait and you want to listen to that as soon as possible, you should listen to this anyway. Listen to this before that. It's sort of a solid primer. It'll help you understand who Eschaton Vigil is, what we've all got in common here. It lays a really good groundwork for just understanding where we are, prophetically speaking, in a post-Israel strikes on Iran's nuclear capabilities sort of era. So very important stream, 4+ hours. So I'm sure some people have already watched some of it. I highly doubt you watched all of it. So, obviously saying that listening to yourself, I'm not going to listen to myself talk for 4 hours, but you guys, I can assure you, it's all worth it. It's all gemmy, true gems, dozens and dozens, hundreds of gems in there, frankly. So not only do I want people to watch it, if you're a real World War Now patriot, you would go through this and clip segments. That's right. That you listening to this right here, I'm looking you right in the eye. You think I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to you. You need to clip this. You're going to watch through this and you're going to clip your 3 favorite parts. How about that? What if everyone did that? Think of how much content would be generated if everyone did that, right? And I hope we're trying to get more clippers. We want people to be able to make, 1, 2, 3, maybe up to 5 minutes of clips, with some edited, with really important is with subtitles, captions. That's what Zoomers and scroll brain retards, they need to see the text and be like, oh, and then, look, if you want to also put Subway Surfers or Minecraft Parkour or something like that down there too, be my guest. We can put it on TikTok, retain some viewership from, people that have fried their brains, but we do want clips. We need clippers. People can feel free to even start their own clips channels, but we also have our own World War Now clips channel that I have access to that if you want to do this full time, maybe I will give access to that account as well. We can have some people helping us out, but a lot of content to clip, not just World War Now episodes, but other content as well. Most particularly this 4-hour Kotel stream, but we've got a big episode with Eschaton Vigil coming up soon as well. So be sure to get behind the paywall to check that out. You can watch this in the meantime. You can watch the Death of Empire documentary from Metropolitan Tikon in the meantime. Seriously, $7 a month. We're getting to competing with streaming services at this point. 90% of the content on any streaming service, of course, is just absolute dog slop, complete crap. But you got Ether Hour at this point, 85+ episodes, all of them minimum an hour 15 minutes. So well over 100, 150 hours at this point of just solid Orthodox, historical based, political, saintly content. We're talking lives of emperors, St. John Vitatsis videos with Father Peter Hears about Elder Ephraim, episodes with Abbot Trifon about his spiritual father, episodes with Cameron McGregor, episodes with Kotel about the wizard archetype, all sorts of ritual magic, and now the occult situation, how the actual mechanics of the occult. So much content. So if you're behind the paywall and you're ever considering they're taking the $7 every month, go to the Ether Hour tab. I'll show you what to do right now. You go to World War Now, you go to the homepage, and you see here, you hit Ether Hour, and you can sort by latest, you can sort by top. See, these are some classic episodes, Jewish Roots of the Protestant Reformation with Anthony of Westgate, Israeli Crime in America with Ryan Dawson. We've got our episode with Truth Teller. We've got our episode with Jay Dyer about the JFK assassinations. We've got so much great stuff here. We've got an interview with Andrei Afanasiev, Russian frontline journalist, works with Spas TV. You might have seen him interviewing me on the Russian Ark television show. So much great content. You really can't go wrong getting behind the paywall. It's a steal, frankly. I should raise the price, but I'm too generous. So thank you all so much for supporting the show. And thank you all so much. Yeah, I'm reading people in the comments saying they want to clip. The best things to clip are either other people's content that I'm on or the actual audio podcast, like the weekly episodes of World War Now and the Ether Hour episodes, even behind the paywall. If you clip something behind the paywall, I don't care. It'll be a great advertisement for stuff behind the paywall. However, the streams themselves, actually, get clipped automatically. Like when I upload the streams to Substack, it makes clips for those automatically. So I probably should start uploading some of them, but I believe they're even available to the public in some capacity. If you go to, let me actually check that out here. Let's go to episode 10. Not seeing it, but usually I was seeing people people were liking the clips. I don't know if it's only available to paid subscribers or something, but there was a clip posted from it that people were liking. So I'll have to post more of them myself. But again, great chat here this evening, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Nothing new coming in on the Telegram on the breaking news here. So not the most eventful evening, that is for sure. Of course, the Gaza war is still ongoing. The Israelis have not stopped in Gaza, even though it seems that we are moving towards some kind of deal, some kind of ceasefire. Rumor has it that the Saudis are the ones completely demanding the destruction of Hamas, which the Israelis are saying this. I don't know if that's really true. Apparently, the next demand from Israel for the United States is they're supposed to be exerting diplomatic pressure. Diplomatic pressure on Qatar, on the government of Qatar in Doha, to completely expel all Hamas political members, because of course Qatar is where Hamas members that don't actually live in the Gaza Strip, that's where they seek political refuge. That's where Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in Tehran, that really escalated the Israeli-Iran war, he resided in Doha. I believe there's still many other high-level members of the Hamas political bureau or the Politburo that are still in Hamas. So that's the Israeli pressure strategy right now. And what was I just saying before that? Losing my train of thought. I'm tired tonight too. But that was the situation with the with the Gaza Strip. The Saudis were the ones supposedly pressuring Hamas, pressuring everybody that they need to actually dismantle Hamas, whereas the latest reports have said that Hamas is still 20,000 fighters strong and very much has operational control of the majority of the Gaza Strip, which I don't know what that really means. Obviously, the Israelis, they simultaneously want us all to believe that they take no casualties, they're dominant, they're completely militarily superior, but at the same time that Hamas is completely powerful and we need a full military response or else they're going to just do another October 7th immediately. So I'm sure the truth is obviously somewhere in the middle. The question is, I believe 20,000 Hamas fighters. The question is, how much political, on-the-ground, urban control are we doing here? Are these people exclusively engaged in resistance and fighting for their lives, which is what I would assume was happening here. But the plan for the Gaza Strip supposedly entails the UAE and Egypt taking control over the Strip with the collaboration of supposedly two currently unknown Arab countries. This would also involve Saudi Arabia and Syria being brought into the Abraham Accords and normalizing relations with the Israelis, which is just insane how in less than a year we could see the fall of Assad and the normalization of Syria's relations with Israel. Just absolutely crazy how Netanyahu has stretched the goals of the Greater Israel Project and the immediately achievable political goals of the Israeli power structure to its maximum. You have to, I'm not even going to say respect, but you have to give him the fact that he's really ironically, the political pressure, I think, has only emboldened him to do this, because if he wasn't about to, be imprisoned potentially and also having his life threatened, if the country was about to descend into civil war and his political faction about to be banished for life and him face serious political consequences, he might not be motivated to take all of these risks to completely destroy all of Israel's enemies, to completely achieve all of Israel's geostrategic, regional, hegemonic goals, if he wasn't backed against the wall. So the Israeli opposition, I think, is ironically fueling this Likudnik irredentism that we're seeing, and how they're successfully spreading across the entire region and toppling their enemies and militarily and territorially expanding, about to actually achieve the map that we all know of the Greater Israel in the region, expanding it to Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Egypt, Jordan, all these places, obviously retaking the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. Oh yeah, that was the other part of the deal, is that Israel will effectively obtain complete annexation and control over the majority of the West Bank, or Judea and Samaria, as they call it. So that is what we're looking for. I'm sure by the time Friday comes along and Dimitri and I are recording the next episode of World War Now, we're going to have a comprehensive update on that plan. So tune into that. Stay tuned. More and more content is on the way. But Paisios had a good point. He said, can you talk about church news like Romanian church not bowing to its own government? And I just reposted something about that on our Telegram. So let me copy that link. Bada bing, bada boom. You can head over here. I'll share this tab instead. It's from Ortho Christian. It says Romanian church rejects call to recognize schismatic OCU, would only embolden them and increase violence. Let me get a sip of water first here. Sorry about that. This says the Romanian Orthodox Church has rejected the Ukrainian ambassador to Romania's call for it to formally recognize the OCU, which is recognized as schismatic by the majority of the Orthodox world. The creation of the OCU by Patriarch Bartholomew of Constantinople has not only deepened the religious crisis in Ukraine, the Romanian Orthodox Church said in comments to Stripes, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, and the Romanian clergy serving in Ukraine completely reject the state-sponsored OCU. At a press conference on June 26th, Ambassador Igor Prokopchuk emphasized the primary importance of the issue of full recognition of the Orthodox Church in Ukraine by the Romanian Orthodox Church, adding that it would represent a very large contribution to relations and trust between the two peoples. Interestingly, in an attempt to bolster his case, the ambassador referenced the attack at the Holy Spirit Cathedral in Chernivtsi in June 27th, during which the OCU thugs violently attacked His Eminence Metropolitan Mileti of Chernivtsi, clerics, and parishioners. However, the incident, which made headlines throughout the world, only alarmed Romanians about the actions of the OCU. Ukraine's Bukovina region is home to millions of Romanians who belong to more than 120 parishes under the canonical Ukrainian Orthodox Church, including Chernivtsi Cathedral. The Romanian community in Chernivtsi is saddened by the fact that without their will, their places of worship are being taken away. Over 20 people came, entered the church, took the priests out, and beat 2 of them. When people started to gather, the police did not allow anyone to enter the churchyard. Likewise, there was an article entitled Violent Attack on the Cathedral in Chernivtsi, defended by Romanians. Among the victims are the Metropolitan of Bukovina and 2 priests. Romanian member of European Parliament Claudiu Tarju condemned the incident, calling on Romanian authorities to officially condemn the abuses that Romanian Orthodox faithful are subject to in Ukraine. Against this background, the Romanian Patriarchate rejects Ambassador Prokopchuk's call, reiterating its stance initially formulated by the Holy Synod in February 2019 that the Ukraine ecclesiastical issue should be resolved on a pan-Orthodox level. A Patriarchate representative told Styripasurs.ro, for almost 30 years, the problem of the schism in Ukraine has not been resolved, nor has there been an appeal for pan-Orthodox mediation, as was done in the case of the schism in Bulgaria. Noting this impasse in resolving the situation, the Ecumenical Patriarchate granted the Tomos of autocephaly to the hierarchs, clergy, and faithful who were in schism with the Russian Orthodox Church and with the entire Orthodoxy. But this Tomos was accepted only by Ukrainian Orthodox who were not in communion with the MP. Therefore, the problem of ecclesiastical unity in Ukraine is not fully resolved, also because there is a large population of Russian ethnicity there which maintains direct connection with the Moscow Patriarchate. Regarding this tense ecclesiastical situation in Ukraine, the Holy Synod of the Romanian Orthodox Church reiterates the viewpoint expressed previously in its sessions of May 2018 and October 25th, 2018. It was then recommended that the EP and the MP identify through dialogue a solution of the mentioned ecclesiastical dispute by maintaining unity of faith, respecting the administrative pastoral freedom of clergy and faithful in this country, including the right to autocephaly and restoring Eucharistic communion. As Romanian Synod has stated before, it is highly concerned about the fate of the Romanian Orthodox faithful in 127 parishes of the canonical UOC. It's necessary to obtain written guarantees from the ecclesiastical and state authorities of Ukraine that the ethnic and linguistic identity of Romanians will be respected, as well as that these Romanian Orthodox will have the possibility to organize themselves into a Romanian Orthodox vicariate and cultivate spiritual ties with the Romanian Patriarchate. To be supported through the sending of liturgical and theological books in their mother tongue, namely the Romanian language. In Romania, a Ukrainian Orthodox vicariate has been functioning since 1990. Further, the Romanian clergy and people themselves firmly reject the option of joining the schismatic OCU, and recognition of it by the Romanian Church would only increase violence from the sect. Following consultations with Romanian Orthodox clergy and lay people from Ukraine, the majority of them firmly reject, even with fear, a possible transfer to the jurisdiction of the OCU. Romanian Orthodox in Ukraine consider recognition by the Romanian Orthodox Church of this church would automatically lead to a stronger siege from Ukrainian authorities to force them to pass under the jurisdiction of Metropolitan Epiphany. The Romanian Church statement also refers to the Romanian Orthodox Church of Ukraine administration that it established in February 2024, in which the Ukrainian authorities refused to register given the state support for the OCU. This is, of course, in reference to the Romanians trying to start their own patriarchal representation and church in Ukraine itself. Then it goes on to some stuff about language, but something I wanted to follow up with this on, and Father John Whiteford was posting about this, because while this is good, and it's good that the Romanian state clearly isn't pressuring the Romanian Orthodox Church to do the wrong thing here, unfortunately, I'm trying to find the article here, the Romanian Church is, yes, here we go. Supporters of the Bessarabian metropolis attempted to seize a church belonging to the Orthodox Church of Moldova. On June 29, 2025, supporters of the Bessarabian metropolis, which is of the Romanian Patriarchate, attempted to seize the temple of the Orthodox Church in Moldova in the village of Granati Riscani. According to eyewitnesses, the clergy of the Romanian Patriarchate were actively assisted by the Moldovan police and the local authorities. This was reported by Sputnik Moldova on its Telegram channel. According to reports on social media, representatives of the Bessarabian metropolis of the Romanian Orthodox Church have been attempting to seize this church of the Moldovan Orthodox Church in the village of Grinachau for several hours, the agency said. The parishioners of the church, together with the rector, resisted and defended the shrine from seizure. However, this did not stop the supporters of the Bessarabian metropolis, and the confrontation continues. It is worth noting that on June 17, 2025, the head of the OCU, Epiphany Dumenko, received the ambassador of the Republic of Moldova to Ukraine at his residence. Together with members of the Moldovan diplomatic mission, Dumenko discussed challenges related to the activities of the Moscow Patriarchate in both countries. So this is concerning, because this is a backdoor between Moldova and for support for Ukraine. The Moldovan authorities are very much in line with the Ukrainian authorities. They're very corrupt, very complete puppets of the West. So this is very disappointing to see. And if the tension increases here and the Romanians actually try to push their incursion into Russian territory, for those that don't know, Moldova has always been under the Russian Orthodox Church. So if the Romanians actually push this and try to sort of do a sort of ecclesiastical nationalistic irredentism into Moldova, then that could, in theory, push them in the future towards recognizing the Ukrainian schismatics. And there are prophecies from Arseny Boca and others about Bucharest and other places being destroyed. So if Romania is the first non-Greek church to recognize the Ukrainian schismatics, which I don't think they don't want to at this point, that would be very disappointing. But unfortunately, they're moving in the wrong direction regarding this thing in Moldova, which could easily find them effectively doing the same thing to Russia and the Russian Orthodox Church as the Ukrainians are to the canonical church in Ukraine, which is, of course, still technically under Patriarch Kirill. $8 more from Zach Flatten. I feel like only 5 or 10 years ago, the Greater Israel Project was just a conspiracy theory. Funny how fast things get memory hold. Yeah, I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's literally, I mean, yeah, 5 to 10 years ago, it was a conspiracy theory. And then, 3 years ago, Bezalel Smotrich, who is still the current finance minister of Israel, comes out with the Greater Israel map on his podium when he gives an address, just openly saying, like, yes, this is what we're doing. My religious nationalist party is forming a coalition with the Likudniks to achieve this, to achieve Greater Israel, to achieve, what the state that will usher in the Antichrist. So anybody that's trying to tell you that these people are our friends, that they shouldn't, like, if any country was actually an Orthodox Christian country, I frankly would have a hard time hearing an argument for someone who convincing me why we shouldn't just declare war on the state of Israel immediately, for any number of reasons, one of which could just be trying to bring about the Antichrist. So if a cataconic state, if a monarchical Christian state existed, I feel like they would be duty bound to restrain Israel. And right now, no such state exists. This is, this is why you see people arguing, on the people that are so anti-Semitic, they start to want to become Shia Muslims or something, because they think Iran and Shia Twelverism is the only thing actually standing up to Zog and Israel, which that's not a good heuristic for truth or religion. But it is true that right now there is no Christian state that is actually restraining Israel. I mean, the United States is the only one that could, but unfortunately it's doing the exact opposite and acting as Israel's attack dog, acting as its personal navy around the world. So that's what's going on there. But thank you very much for the $8, Zach. No, Paisius, I appreciate you bringing this up because I had been meaning to connect these two stories about Moldova and Ukraine. So we got to keep that situation in our prayers. And, I don't know too much about the ecclesiology in Romania itself. I hear people say the church is corrupt. I don't hear too many good things about the patriarch per se, but they are built to build, the largest Orthodox church in the world, People's Salvation Cathedral. When that's full, I'm sure the problem is they do the liturgies when these things, starting these things before they're actually completely done. So there's still scaffolding. I'm very much looking forward to when it's actually open and the final product can really be looked at from the inside. I know on the outside it's pretty much, it's complete as well. But when that's really done and able to be looked at, I'll probably do a reaction and look at it as well. Because between that and of course the military cathedral, and there's many other things in the Orthodox world currently under construction. I think we might even do a whole episode on that. Actually, everyone remember that'll be probably the next few months. That'll be an ether hour, just Orthodox mega structures, more modern ones, things being built, big important Orthodox projects. We'd have this. We'd have the military cathedral. I think we'd have the new Byzantine Crimean Museum, Metropolitan Tikon set up. I think we could discuss that. We could discuss maybe even some big new projects coming in North America and more diaspora Orthodox places. So I think this is the brainstorming live here on the World War Live stream. You're seeing me ruminate. You're seeing the process. You're seeing how the sausage is made, as it were. So that's what we got going on here. But unless we have any other super chats about anything else, I think it might be time to do some ethno guesser. But thank you, Paisios, for bringing that subject up. I think it's time for us to guess some ethnos. I haven't played in a minute, so I might do terrible. Daily game. All right. I feel like I've had this one before, and I've thought West Africa, but it's actually South Africa. So I'm just going for it, actually. Those are just what? Hadza. Tanzanian Bushmen. Okay. The more you know. Sorry, look, guys, I'm a studier of phenotypes. I'm a skull measurer. I'm a gait analyst. I'm a teeth. I'm looking at the teeth. I'm doing this, but I'm sorry that I was not aware of the Hadza ancient Tanzanian Bushman type. Okay, forgive me. Let's do better next time, I guess. Oh, see, they're lighter skin. Like I don't really. The problem is I can't really go. I've never gotten Africans in the Caribbean, so I think they actually just do the like native Taino type people in the Caribbean still. So that's not who this is going to be. But like these look like they're mixed. Like these people have to be mixed with some Spanish or something. Yes, John D. Rock, Atlanta. Yeah, okay. I don't think that's unfortunately, I don't think that's what this is going to show. This is tough. I almost am tempted like South Africa again, because that seems to always be what happens when I get screwed over. So maybe that's what we'll do. Oh, the shorter skulled counterpart of the Genesids. They didn't look dark skin enough for me to just be straight Bantu, but yeah. Pakaka, and then Gagu, Southern Igbo. Sometimes appear baby-faced. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. All right, not off to a good start. With all these Africans have been brutal. Okay. So this could just be Romanian. I feel like last time I thought the person was too Turkish and it ended up being just actually Romanians. And I feel like I'm thinking these are Europeans and they're actually the guy especially doesn't necessarily look European. So I'm thinking maybe here. Boom. Not just a per bullseye, but exactly where you want to be. Yeah, these are Anatolids, Arminid subtypes of Anatolia with Denaroid features. Core population lives in West Anatolia. So I think these are all. I think these are a lot of this just pretty Greek people that unfortunately became Muslim. But we got $20 more from Jonathan Kelly. Boys, pray for Saint Xenia's intercessions for me. It's bad, gang. Thanks. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Everybody, be sure to pray for Jonathan. Be sure to ask Saint Xenia for her intercessions. Be sure to ask any Saint John Baptist as well for intercessions here. But Jonathan, I'll be praying for you. Hope everyone, sorry, I'm about to burp. Hope everyone listening can do the same. Add Jonathan to your prayer list. He's a big supporter of World War Now, so we can be big supporters of him in the noetic realm in the world of prayer. So thank you so much, Jonathan. Really sorry you're going through it, that you're in the trenches, but God is with you. The Lord never leaves us. So take comfort in that, man. But really appreciate your support. Sorry to hear that. But we're moving on. Glad we made up for those 2 horrible rounds with this perfect score. Feels good, man. Feels good. Solid haul of super chats tonight. Thank you very much, guys. Especially on an off day. This is Wednesday. Usually it's Tuesday. So greatly appreciated. But we got Martin Luther King himself. He has a dream. I have a dream that one day Whataburger would add the Buffalo Ranch chicken strip sandwich to the menu full time. That's real. I have a dream about that. Whataburger. Let's do that. But Dr. King, man, which African country was Dr. King's ancestors from? See, the problem is I want to. I can't, I'm just like guessing South Africa because it kept cucking me in the past. But I can't guess Harlem. I can't guess Montgomery, Alabama. So I'm gonna roll with this again. No, these are just Nilotes. Actually, I should have known that. My Martin Luther, my racist Martin Luther King impression was throwing me off. Actually, analyzing what these people look like. If I just look at the woman, she's clearly Nilotic. So that was on me. For racism didn't help me in this specific situation. So sorry. Oh my goodness. What on earth are we looking at? I'm calling chat in on this one, guys. And if you've already played the daily, don't just tell me, but if you haven't and you have a good idea, maybe let me know. Cause I got no I can't think what are these like? These got to be in the like South Pacific or something, or like Madagascar. Like we're talking Madagascar, Papua, um like Solomon Islands, maybe Madagascar, or like this is some kind of. I gotta go Papua. I should have just kept guessing South Africa. What are we looking at here? The hell, these people are not black. A Sanid variety named after the Karoo Desert. Very ancient and distinct with many unique features. Was dominant in southern Africa several centuries ago until Bantu and European colonization almost wiped it out. Bantu expansion strikes again, man. Because if that hadn't happened, I'd actually know who these people were. But yeah, these are, look, see, yellowish, light, or medium brown skin. These are like straight up, these are like barely even sons of Ham. All right, let's forget about that. That was horrible. Okay. What are we doing? What am I looking at? What am I looking at here? Is this like Manti Te'o? Like these could be, this looks like a half Samoan, half African. So I don't know. I don't know what to guess here. North Africa, maybe. What are you talking like? Talking like up here? Actually, you might be right. Boom. Thank you, Tara. Yeah, these are clearly these were Arabs mixed with Africans, so that makes sense. I guess I should have gone more Mali. This is some of that Mansa Musa, type richest man in the world type thing. Oh boy, look at that! Look at those. We got Jay Leno. We've got Jay Leno and then Jay Leno in drag. Are these like continental feather Indians? Are these like Siberian feather Indians, or are these island dwellers? I'm tempted to just go North America, but if anyone else has any other perspective, I mean, you're saying someone's saying Arizona. We're talking like Navajo? I don't know. Nah. Yeah, I knew those. Yeah, they were. Nah. You guys are tripping. Trip me out. These are some Andeans. I should have trusted the gut. Now we're just forgetting about that. Oh boy. This looks like what happens when a quirked up white boy goes to Japan and then 9 months later we get whatever this is. The dude just looks so white. I don't know. I almost want to say like Brunei. Like, are we? Actually, no, you're right. It's gonna be like something over here. North. The guy started looking a little too Kazakh to me, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay. The guy looks a little bit like do not redeem, but the woman, I don't know. Unlikable douchebag for $20. Blessed feast of Vladika John. Thank you. But dude, you're a lovable not douchebag. I don't know what the opposite of douchebag is, but you're likable to me. I appreciate it. Thank you for the $20. And yes, blessed feast of St. John. Hope everybody's asking for the intercession of this wonderful modern American saint. But thank you, UD, as I will refer to you as. But there's some breaking news. I'm going to finish up this ethno guesser so we don't lose the flow. But then there's some breaking news I'll probably round us off with here. We're over the hour mark, so I've done my job. I refuse to end the stream before an hour because that's just lazy. But I don't know what we got going on here. I'm almost tempted. Are we talking like Pakistan? We're talking Bangladesh? Are we talking like, what are we talking about here? Bada bing, bada boom, boom. Oh, I was wrong. Not good. Proto-Malayids. Yeah, Malaysia. I should have thought of that. Wasn't thinking. Oh? Vanta Black. These have to be more Nilotic, I feel. Retard. I'm just retarded, man. Just a retard moment. These have to be more Nilotic. Duh. They're literally from Senegal. Okay. The guy, yeah, I should have known with the guy. The woman looked Ethiopian. Okay. She looks Ethiopian. I'm sorry. Not great. How did I even do? Oh, first time bottom below the 50% mark. Worst game on the stream history. Yeah, and at least I got one perfect score. I got that perfect score on those Anatolians. So there's that. But yeah, let's move on from this and talk about this news story here before we wrap things up. This is not good. I heard about this and I just didn't want to report on it before anything else had happened, but Zelensky cancels citizenship of Metropolitan Onufri, head of UOC, largest religious confession in Ukraine. This is not good. President Zelensky of Ukraine has deprived his beatitude Metropolitan Onufry of Kiev and all of Ukraine of Ukrainian citizenship. Metropolitan Onufry is the primate of the canonical Ukrainian Orthodox Church, the largest religious confession in the country. The Ukrainian Security Service claims that Metropolitan Onufry voluntarily received Russian citizenship in 2002, but didn't inform Ukrainian authorities about it. He thus continued to enjoy the status and rights of a Ukrainian citizen. The SBU also claims that his beatitude maintains contact with the Moscow Patriarchate and deliberately opposed the acquisition of canonical independence of the Ukrainian Church from the Moscow Patriarchate, whose representative openly supports Russian aggression against Ukraine. Despite the full-scale invasion, Berezovsky, I guess that's what they're calling Metropolitan Onufry, actually continues to support the policy of the Russian Orthodox Church and its leadership, in particular Patriarch Kirill. Of course, the SBU statement provides no evidence for its claims, which are blatantly contradicted by the reality on the ground. Metropolitan Onufry has explicitly condemned the war many times over, and it's well known that he led the UOC and its local council in May 2022 to separate from the Moscow Patriarchate. His Eminence Metropolitan, which, okay, not sure what that really means. I get that we're all trying to say that Metropolitan Onufry is neutral, but they're not autocephalous. His Eminence Metropolitan Clement of Nizhyn, chairman of the UOC's Synodal Information and Education Department, clarified in comments to BBC Ukraine that his Beatitude Metropolitan Onufry explained that he only has the passport of a citizen of Ukraine. Besides Ukrainian, he doesn't have any other passports, including the Russian Federation. He has already explained that he has never applied to the state bodies of other states to acquire another citizenship. Metropolitan Onufry, who is a native Bukovinian, explained in April 2023 that when the Soviet Union fell, he automatically received Russian citizenship because he had a permanent registration there, having been a longtime resident of the Holy Trinity St. Sergius Lavra. At the same time, he intentionally received Ukrainian citizenship and never used his Russian citizenship. And when relations between the Russian and Ukrainians began to deteriorate, he allowed his Russian passport to lapse. In his evening address, Zelensky referred to Metropolitan Onufry's situation, though without naming him. He declared that Ukraine is fighting for its spiritual independence and that such people do not and will not have a place in Ukraine. They've taken away his passport, commented His Eminence Metropolitan Luke of Zaporozhye on his Telegram channel, but Christ can't be taken away. He concluded his reflection, for us, today's blow is a moment of purification and unity, not defeat. This is a call to take faith deeper than nationality or formal status. After all, the church is the body of Christ, where love remains the main connecting thread, and citizenship is only a temporary affiliation. In addition to temporary earthly citizenship, we have eternal citizenship, heavenly, and we don't need a passport there. Yes, the deprivation of citizenship is a blatant injustice, but it doesn't deprive us of the faith and spiritual authority of the UOC pastors. On the contrary, it's a time to become stronger in prayer, mercy, and unity. From a spiritual point of view, we must steadfastly bear the cross with the church and continue our ministry as required by Christ. So this is obviously a big escalation in persecutions. Obviously, he's going to be subject to all sorts, or rather, lose all sorts of protections that state constitutions grant actual citizens of any given sovereign entity. So this is not good. We've got $5 from Paisios. Can you talk about Muslims worshiping the same God as Christians? I want to get your perspective on that, the Ortho versus Catholic Twitter right now. We don't worship the same God as Muslims. Jay Dyer is correct. There's nothing I'm going to be able to say about this that Jay, that David Erhan, that Luigi, that other people that people are following on Twitter, other places aren't going to be able to say. So obviously the Bible's pretty clear on this, right? You cannot know the Father without knowing the Son. Those who don't know the Son do not know the Father. Muslims, Jews, non-Trinitarians know the Son in no way at all. They deny the Son. They deny the divinity of Jesus Christ. Therefore, they don't know him. So they don't worship the same God as us. Period. End of story. That should be the end of the discussion. But Catholics who can't admit that their infallible see erred very, very much. They have to cope and argue about this, so they're using a bunch of semantics and pretending to act indignant. So that's my perspective. Ecumenism is wrong. Perennialism is wrong. Become Orthodox. Bing, back, boom. We got $5 from Zach Flatten. Can't wait till Zelensky is no longer a Ukrainian citizen. Yeah, well, I can't wait till Zelensky is no longer alive. So I guess that counts as the same thing. But yeah, the situation with Metropolitan Onufry obviously we'll see where this goes, right? This is an escalation. They've fired another shot across the bow, as it were. So we're going to see. Someone says here, hey, Conrad, I just had an AI make a bunch of clips from last Ether Hour on YouTube. I'll DM the link to you on Discord. On Discord. Well, that's cool. I guess we'll see how that goes. We'll see if the AI is doing what it has to do. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's the kind of stuff we want people to do. Final thing I wanted to say about the Metropolitan Onufry situation, though, is look, I'm not in his situation. I can't say how I would act. I can't judge him in any way. I think he's a heroic man, saintly hierarch. But he resided at the Trinity, Sergius Lavra. He's witnessing all of this. At a certain level, we have to start living in reality. We have to start speaking reality. We have to stop not living by lies. We can't just abide lies. And this Ukrainian nationalism stuff is a bunch of garbage. It's a bunch of lies. This idea that somehow the head of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which still the vast majority of Ukrainians are a part of, Orthodox Ukrainians, who has a spiritual lineage still of the Trinity Sergius Lavra, somehow then we could say that there's no connection between Russia and Ukraine is actually older than, like, this is just so stupid. Like Ukraine is a critical part of Russia. It's the sort of baptismal font of the Russian people, and therefore it should maintain a valid and critical place within the political, social, religious, that includes political borders of the Russian Empire, of the Russian Federation, of the Russian state, of the Russian people. So this idea that at a certain level, you are being so persecuted. You've had your citizenship revoked. All your churches are being stormed. The altars that you have, they're literally taking shits in the altar. You have to start to maybe just stand up for the truth and take what comes with it, right? Just be like, like stop abiding this. Stop saying this war is good. Stop acting like Ukraine is some empire in and of itself. And again, no judgment. It's just, I think that is important. So that's sort of my final comment on that. We got $2 from Elijah Nelson. Glory to God, donating because Paisios told me to. So true, man. Listen to, Paisios, Captain Paisios leading this World War Now battalion all to himself. Great to see it. But yeah, we're at about almost hour 15 here. I think it's probably time I wrap this up, pretty much 9 p.m. where I'm at. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Any final super chats I will happily answer here in the last few minutes. So send those in if there's anything else you want me to answer. But I greatly appreciate you for tuning in, whether you super chatted or did not. It's always good to have you here hanging out, chilling on a now Wednesday, normally Tuesday evening. So I should be back to the Tuesday evening schedule in the future. I'm going to be doing some traveling here in the next few weeks. So not sure if that's going to get disrupted. I should try to maybe do some streaming just from my laptop in some of these other places I'm going to be, South Carolina. So we'll see how all of that goes. But then thank you all for tuning in. $5. Paisios, as the unofficial Pope of World War Now, I command all subjects to donate now. He's speaking ex cathedra, folks. This guy is speaking ex cathedra. He's wearing the hat. It's time to do it. You can't make it through the pearly gates in the Roman, in the papist world here if you don't do what the Pope of World War Now commands. So thank you, Paisios, for the $5. Thank you all so much for tuning in. One final reminder, worldwarnow.co, Death of Empire. Head behind the paywall to watch the full thing. Of course, you get access to hundreds of hours of other Ether Hour content. So $7 is worth, frankly, the $75 is just worth getting access to this documentary alone. If you want to do the $75 a year, saving you a little money on the monthly payments. On top of that, you get hundreds and hundreds of hours of Ether Hour content, interviews, deep dives, translated stuff. It's really, really great. So thank you all so much for tuning in again. Link down below, worldwarnow.co. You will see the Death of Empire tab. That's the other thing. It's not just the Ether Hour tab for everybody to check out. The Death of Empire documentary and commentary has its entire own tab. So even in the future, when it's not on the front page, it's been pushed down by other episodes, you can always click this tab and watch the documentary if you are behind the paywall. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much to everyone who super chatted and donated. You are the ones that keep the lights on here at the proverbial World War Now bunker. So you are greatly, greatly appreciated. We will see you on the next episode. Again, get behind that paywall. The link is down below. Follow me on X. I'm getting closer and closer to 10,000 followers. So help me get over the line. How many more followers do I need? I need like 72 more followers. So follow me on X at GnomeRad. Great place to leave it on. Follow me down there. Whoops, we can close my DMs as well. It's okay. You're just seeing the thumbnail process and work. But thank you so much for tuning in. Follow me at GnomeRad. Subscribe here on YouTube. Follow World War Now on X at WorldWarNow_. And of course, become a supporter at worldwarnow.co. But with all of that, we will wrap this up here, and I will see you on the next one. God bless.